On today's show, the San Diego Padres get themselves a nice, splendid start of the Series W against the San Francisco Giants thanks to Yu Darvish, some timely hits from Mr. Freddy Fermin, and, in general, the Padres lineup, it seems to be oh so humming.
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Padres podcast, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for Tuesday, August 12th. As always, I'm your host with sometimes the most, Javier Reyes, and I've been covering this team for almost 6 years now, not just for this podcast, but also various other outlets, including JustBaseball.com, chief among them. Today's episode, guys, is brought to you by FanDuel. Let me tell you about FanDuel, folks. It's great. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. Go check that out. And go check me out on the socials, Twitter/X and Blue Sky at Javipeno, Javiipeno, with any questions, comments, or concerns you might have. And on today's show, we are recapping yesterday's game and using it to talk about a bunch of different things, I feel like, with the Padres lineup right now, which has been the question for the team all year. Frankly, like, this has been the discussion. The discussion has been, before the season, it was, who's going to fill out the rest of the rotation? Is this going to work? No Musgrove, right? All those sort of things. You missed out on Roki Sasaki. Then we learned, oh, okay, that actually isn't going to matter that much because the bullpen is awesome and the rotation's good enough. And instead it became the bottom of the order, right? It became the bottom of the order. It became, I still remember when Bogarts was a total mess. And Bogarts I love because he's been amazing lately, right? He looks fully back. Remember when we were at that arc of the season, we need to give up Leo DeVries just to trade Xander Bogaerts? I'm not even making fun of anybody who suggests that. I'm just saying, like, dang, it's a long season, isn't it? Pretty crazy. Anyway, moving on, though, let's talk about last night's game before we get into some other topics, including a fun one on Bryce Harper versus Manny Machado versus Mike Trout. That should be fun. But first, yesterday's game, the Padres win by a score of 4-1, and it was a nice win because it came against Logan Webb for the Giants, the best pitcher on that team. Dare I say the best pitcher that most people don't ever talk about. A really good pitcher, a type of pitcher who produces really weak ground ball contact. One of the best in the league at generating ground balls over the past, 4 or 5 seasons, really. He's been doing it for a while. And that's the type of pitcher that I'd be a little bit scared of with a really aggressive bat-to-ball contact style Padres offense, at least for the majority of the season. But thankfully, we're all good, baby, because Yu Darvish showed up in a big way. Before I talk about Darvish, though, did anyone hear the lady that was, screaming, apparently, on the TV, shouting for the Padres, go, you can do it, all that stuff, and you could literally hear it on the broadcast? Because I saw Twitter all over the place blowing up about this. I saw a couple videos. I just thought it was funny, frankly, that this was becoming a thing. And then apparently they had to make her be quiet. I don't know what it was, but I keep the volume down a little bit when I'm watching the game. I don't know. I'm weird. What can I say? No disrespect to Don whatsoever. But Yu Darvish, 6 innings in this one, only 4 hits, 1 earned run. The 1 earned run coming from a big home run from Rafael Devers, which, yeah, I'll allow it. 0 walks, most impressive part of the night, and 6 strikeouts. He also generated a decent amount of whiffs, by the way, just to go by advanced stats, which is really, really cool. Love to see that from a guy who's still working his way back. 6 whiffs, especially on 9 swings for his splitter. So his put-away pitch that I feel like he likes to use a lot is the splitter, and it was great. He even got a couple whiffs on his sinker and sweeper. And he throws so many different pitches that it's hard to just analyze one and give a big extrapolated take on them. But overall, Darvish has been exemplary lately after struggling heavy the first few starts. Last 3 games, he has a 2.12 ERA, a 2.87 FIP. So he's not getting lucky. 30% strikeout rate and just a 3% walk rate. I don't expect it to continue to that degree. He is old, but let me tell you, can he do stuff like that still every now and then? Abso-freaking-lutely. Yu Darvish is Yu Darvish for a reason. He is a Hall of Very Good player, inductee, I would say, by the end of his career. He has been awesome so far these last 3 starts, and hopefully it continues, because if it does, I maintain my belief that he's the 3rd starter in a playoff series. I think it's going to be King, Pivetta, and Darvish. I don't think it's going to be Cease. Obviously, they will use Cease in a playoff game, but I think that they're going to be like, you know what, we trust you. That veteran stuff, we just know that he's a good playoff type starter, especially if they end up playing against the Dodgers. But again, I don't know for sure what they're going to do. We'll have to wait till then. We're getting ahead of ourselves, too. We got to still make the playoffs. Other than that, though, man, what else is there to say? Bullpen was great yet again. Love to see that. This is a team that has had a bullpen that was great all year long. Jeremiah Estrada, 1 inning and a strikeout. Mason Miller, 1 inning and 3 strikeouts. And guys, he threw like an 80 grade changeup at one point, 92 miles per hour on the outside. Part of the plate, a little bit low. You couldn't even tell where the pitch was going. It was a thing of beauty. Robert Suarez comes in and gets the save as well. Great stuff. Everyone wants to talk about Mason Miller. Just a little bit of a shout out to Luis Jeremiah Estrada, though, because while he's not as big of a story, just because Mason Miller is a sexy new name, and he's got the 103 fastball, they just throw it at all that stuff, right? Jeremiah Estrada had 13 strikeouts on his last 21 batters since the trade deadline. So Mason Miller got there, and Jeremiah Estrada was like, yeah, but don't forget, I'm still nasty with it. So shout out to him. In terms of the offense, the Padres scored 4 runs in this game, obviously. Jackson Merrill with a huge double, Jake Cronenworth running one as well, and Freddy Fermin hit a home run. We got to talk about each one of those guys because I think each one of those guys has a notable thing. The least notable would be Jake Cronenworth, but I just want to shout out with him that he's got a 16-game on-base streak going on right now, and he's got a 134 WRC plus this year, which, for those who don't remember, those who may be new to the show, WRC plus 100 is average, and then if you're 134, you're 34% better than your average major leaguer. That's incredible, right? Like, that's really, really good. 134 WRC plus with men on base and 129 with runners in scoring position. He has not been the problem with runners in scoring position. He's more of a walk artist. That's where I think a lot of his offense is coming from. He's not slugging the ball too much, although he does have some timely home runs. Cronenworth is just one of those guys that I really like in big situations, and I really trust to just put together a good at-bat like almost every time when they need him to. He's a little bit more than the stats suggest, but I will say, Cronenworth, one of the most underrated players on this season. I think that at one point, the most underrated Padre was Adrian Borja. I don't think he is anymore. I think everyone knows. But 2 wins above replacement for Jake Cronenworth this year. Not incredible, 2.1, but he had 2 all of last year. So it's his highest F4 total since 2022 right now for Jake Cronenworth. And I don't think it's a coincidence that he moved back to second and it's been a solid bat. You know what I mean? Will it go down at some point? Sure. But I just like what they're getting. This is our 8-hitter. The 8-hitter in the Padres lineup. That's when you know you have a type of lineup that could be a true contender at the biggest level, guys. But we're not done yet. We also got to talk about the other 2 players. Jackson Merrill, the big double. Is he figuring it out lately? Well, it's complicated. But before we talk about how complicated it is, guys, let me talk to you about one of our sponsors today, and that is Open Phone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency like a burst pipe. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? No, you called the next one, and that's why having a reliable business line is so important, and that's why you need Open Phone. It's the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your computer. Your whole team can share one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. No more who's handling this. No more of that insanity. You just get all this stuff instantly done. OpenPhone is offering Locked On Padres listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnMLB. That's OpenPhone, OpenPhone.com/LockedOnMLB. And if you have existing numbers with another service, don't worry. OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Go check that out, guys. But also, go check out our friends over at FanDuel. You love FanDuel very much. They're one of our classic sponsors for years now. But go check it out, guys, because for just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before Week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. August 26th. Thick? God, I'm a mess. August 26th. Is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions of preseason hunches. So go check that out. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. And just like that, everybody, we are back here thriving and vibing on the Locked On Padres podcast. Remember, you can check me out on the socials at Twitter/XX. I don't know what's up with my mouth today, for everybody who's wondering why I keep having these little slips and mess ups with my speech. But what can I say? It was a wild night for your boy. It wasn't at all. I was just like hanging out. But still, go check that out, guys. And let me tell you, Jackson Merrill. I've voiced a lot on this show that I think that he is the least worrisome player for me that has been underperforming, because I'm always going to be a sample size guy. And what I mean by that is I'm always going to have some hesitancy with ranking in any sport players really high based off of a small slate of games. And in this case, Jackson Merrill was his rookie year. And the reason why Jackson Merrill, I still was hesitant about him heading into the year, is not because I think the talent was fake or anything like that. He didn't have a fake season, but bottom line was two things. He didn't walk too much, right? Which means that if you're not hitting the ball well, if players and pitchers adjust to whatever Jackson Merrill was doing that made him such a feared bat to ball and even power hitter in the second half of last year, that if they figure something out, he can't rely on just getting the walks. Like, say, when Juan Soto struggles, he can be like, I still walk and get on base at a 380 clip, so I'm still a productive, really good player. Extreme example, but you get my point. And the other thing wasn't regarded as a prospect that was going to be able to tap into his power very quickly. And he did, and a lot of it in the second half, his rookie year. So I wondered, how much of that was he playing above his head? Turns out a decent amount of it for now. I still think he's going to figure this out in the future, but it was still nice to see him get a RBI double in last night's game, going three. Did he go 3 for 4? Yes, going 3 for 4 as well on the night. Really, really good stuff. Now, he has not been that incredible. This isn't like he's been quietly hitting better lately. That's something that I do. I have to look up every time a player has a good game, because if I remembered 2 nights ago that they had a good game, I'm like, oh, they must have been quietly having a good streak. No, over his last 15 games, Jackson Merrill slashing 254 with a 303 on base, a 407 slugging. That's only a 710 OPS and a 97 WRC plus. But it's still nice to see, and it's still nice to see that there are some slight things in his favor in terms of the underlying data, right? Jackson Merrill, he has a 51% hard hit rate, a 23% line drive rate, and a strikeout 19% of the time in the 22 games since the All-Star break. In the 47 games heading into the break, his hard hit rate was 49%, line drive rate was 20%, and strikeout rate was 24%. So marginal, nice little improvements, especially with the strikeout rate and all that stuff. So he's at least, I think he's been showing, well, the results haven't always been there. He's showing that he's starting to make better contact. He's starting to square up the ball a lot better. Swing at the right pitches, I think, is the big thing for me. So that's all positive, right? And he's also been getting a little bit unlucky. He's been hitting the ball pretty hard. He's still a decent hard hit guy. That's why I still have a lot of faith in him. But not all of them have ended for hits. So I think that we're approaching a period where I think we could be hopeful that Jackson Merrill is starting to break out of the slump. I'm excited about it. What else? Oh, and last one. Freddy Fermin. Man, big home run in this game in the top of the 7th inning, basically giving the Padres as big of a lead as they could possibly need with this bullpen and all that stuff. Freddy Fermin has been fantastic, obviously, for the Padres. And I'm actually starting to wonder, did the Padres acquire a guy not just because they desperately needed a catcher, but because they desperately needed a catcher and they liked Freddy Fermin? Check out this quote from AJ Preller. Fermin had been Salvador's backup, though that still meant catching several times a week. Padres people said right away they expected Fermin would be better with even more playing time. And several personnel people called him a glue guy, in quotes, right? This, by the way, coming from Kevin Acey's newsletter. Said AJ Preller, in quotes, "We've never traded for a player that we've gotten more positive reports after the trade than Freddy Fermin. People were coming out of the woodwork talking about when they played with him, coached him, managed him." I'm only including that just as some extra adage for the lore, but I'm just starting to wonder, like, I wasn't negative on the Freddy Fermin deal. Let me be very clear. I was like, great, we got a catcher. This is cool. But I am wondering, did we not get excited enough about this guy? Now, granted, this guy has not been some star or anything like that. But is it possible that he spent so much time behind Salvador Perez that the inconsistency, maybe he needed more at-bats, right? And this is a guy that's had a 109 WRC plus before, right? He's a late bloomer, right? Came into the league at 27 years old, right? And didn't really play much when he was 27. Got his full big season, 1.9 F4. He was a decent defensive catcher. He had a 321 on base. He slugged 461 in 70 games. The next year, not as great. And then this year, up until then, was mostly just a defensive good backup catcher. But I am wondering, with the way he's been playing, he just looks slick. Now, he does make a mistake in this game, right? He does make a mistake. He not overthrows, but he throws to the side, trying to throw out a runner. And then Jackson Merrill, showing his defense, does end up throwing the guy out. One of the plays of the game, Manny made a really great tag too. So shout, by the way, that even when Merrill isn't playing great necessarily at the plate, that he's still a really positive defender. But basically, I break that all up just to say, I'm wondering, is our boy, is our boy Freddy Fermin a little bit more than just a good backup catcher that we're getting for now, right? If he is, that is huge because it also means we could be more patient with Ethan Salas, or it also means that Ethan Salas becomes an asset to trade at next year's deadline or in the offseason, right? So we'll have to see. But that was just a fun little thing I thought I'd include for you guys. Last thing I want to talk about before the Trout-Harper convo, Luis Arráez. From Kevin Acey's newsletter, I love what he did here. And he basically brought up that Arráez has been really streaky this year, right? He's had good moments. He's still a high batting average guy, but he hasn't been overall as productive of a player because he's not hitting consistently and he's below 300. And for a guy that doesn't have speed, doesn't have defensive value, and doesn't walk and swings at every pitch, we've talked about this 100 times, that is bad. He's still okay. 107 WRC plus is nothing to sneeze at, but it's not as much better than last year's 109, considering that last year I thought the excuse / reasoning for why he wasn't as great last year was the thumb injury that he did get repaired. And instead this year, the expected stats aren't very good. He's only got a 0.7 wins above replacement. It's been a little bit tricky for Arráez, and I think AC figured out a good point, which is March 27th through April 1st, over 6 games, Arráez had a .87 batting average, all right? Then April 2nd to May 10th, Arráez hit .343 over his next 26 games. Then the 30 games after that, Arráez hit .246. Then the 23 games after that, he hit .344. Then 5 games after that, he hit .50, which granted just 5 games, but he went 1 for 20, which isn't crazy, a 5-game stretch, but for Arráez it is, because this is a guy who makes contact and he's supposed to be getting a lot of hits, right? That's something that's not as crazy if you're looking like at Machado. You're like, well, yeah, okay, that's okay. Or like Tatis, or, you know, some of those other type of players, it's different. For a guy like Arráez to have a 50 batting average, even over just a 5-game stretch, is worrisome. And then the 15 games after that, post All-Star break, started on fire. July 18th to August 2nd, .417 batting average over 15 games. Then August 3rd through 6th, what does he do over the next 4? Falls apart. 105 batting average. Then August 8th to 10th, .462 batting average. Here's what AC got into is that he's been super streaky. And that's not what Arráez has usually been. And it is concerning. And it is why I maintain my belief that he probably is not going to be on this team next year. I actually think we could see a situation in which O'Hearn just plays first base and then Sheets is DH, or vice versa, right? Or actually, O'Hearn, I believe, is actually a free agent after this year, so maybe not him. But Sheets, I could see playing first base. I could see that happen, and then maybe they re-sign O'Hearn or whatever happens, right? But that's all I'm bringing up. Anywho, guys, we got to talk about one more topic for today's show, and it's a little bit of a fun one, and it is about our boy Manny Machado, because why not? I like mixing things up a whole bunch. You don't want to get stale on this show, but let me tell you, you know what else isn't getting stale? The fits over at Game Day Hue. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, they help you out. Today's episode is sponsored by them, after all, and this is what I'm talking about when you need no logo, clean gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. It's all about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile style that works on game day, on the course, or anywhere in between. It's subtle, stylish, and you can still rep your team. So no matter what the environment is, if you're wondering sometimes, like, I don't want to wear my big jersey, you don't want to wear your Kirby football hoodie that I am currently rocking on this episode, whatever it is, maybe you want to be more subtle. That's kind of what Game Day Hue is all about. Helping you out with. It doesn't replace your team's logo stuff. It just adds to the lineup, right? That way you're always ready for any sort of occasion. It's great. And it's not just hats. You could also check out their split shade gloves made for the golf course, or the perfect gift for the fan who has everything. Right now, you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GameDayHue.com. That's GameDayHue, HUE.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals, so now's the time to load up. Let your colors talk, because colors speak louder than words. That's GameDayHue.com, code MLB15. Go check it out. And just like that, everybody, we are back thriving and vibing here into the final segment of the show. Again, one more time, you can check me out on socials at Twitter/X, at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO. Also the same on Blue Sky. Let me tell you, folks, About like I'm gonna say a month before the All-Star break, which just shows you your boy isn't always the most organized. What can I say? Just like AJ Preller, I'd be firing from the hip and going from there. You know what I mean? Although he's a lot better for planning for the future than I am, let me tell you. But with that segment, there was a segment on Chris Rose's podcast. For those who don't know, Chris Rose is basically like a sportscaster personality. He does a show for, I believe it's Barstool Sports, and he talks about baseball stuff. And one of the things he talked about was a fun listener question, which is about Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, or Mike Trout, who will be like remembered the most. And here's the thing. I actually found it really fascinating because this is that era. Those are kind of the stars that we're going to remember for, at least me, the stars that were populating the sport when I was in high school. Right, which is, when you're starting to get more and more into sports, at least when your fandom starts to kick into overdrive, you start discovering a bunch of different things, making even more memories that are for yourself rather than as attached to, say, your parents introducing you to them. At least that's just me, because high school is when you first start being a little bit more on your own, a little bit more independent. But not to get super esoteric and deep about it or anything, but I really loved the conversation. I thought it was an interesting thing. Basically, the way I see it is this, and I don't think anyone would disagree with this. Mike Trout will go down as the best player. Mike Trout is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. This is a guy who has a career 86 wins above replacement, right? Like that's just what's going to happen. So the question becomes between Bryce Harper and Manny Machado, who's better, right? But I actually think that this really all depends on winning in terms of who will be remembered the most. Because in terms of the stats, look, Manny Machado, he's got 57 career wins above replacement. Bryce Harper, he's got 54.5 career wins above replacement. Now, granted, here's the thing. It all varies depending on what you need. Because as an offensive player, Bryce Harper has been much better. This is a guy who once posted a 197 WRC+. He's got 2 MVPs. But he wasn't always a great defensive player. Manny Machado is going to be remembered for the consistency, for the glove, and all of that sort of stuff. I think if Bryce Harper were to win the World Series with Philly, then yes, he could be more remembered. But I think there is a way, despite being a smaller market, I think there is a way in which Manny Machado gets to be the most memorable player out of all of these. Forget the stats for a second. He will be remembered as the guy who got brought into San Diego as their first big, major free agent. I understand Eric Hosmer was signed, but a lot of people were kind of wondering, like, all right, but is Eric Hosmer actually going to be good? I don't know. Manny Machado was a golden goose, golden egg, golden boy type of player that almost every time is going to big market teams. He's going to Philadelphia. He's going to the Yankees. He's going to the Mets. He's going to the Red Sox. He was literally on the Dodgers for a little bit. And instead he goes with the Padres, which, by the way, was ridiculed at the time. Everyone was like, oh, have fun not winning. He took the money. Turns out the Padres are building something. I think all of that together makes Manny, if they are to win a World Series, the more interesting story. I know that that's crazy, right? Because Bryce Harper's had all the hype throughout his career. He had the big home run on tape before he was coming up in the draft, right? That like he hit it out of the stadium and it went super viral. He was the chosen one, right? Like he had that LeBron James almost build up. But for me, I don't think it's impossible that Manny Machado goes down as being a little bit more memorable and iconic if the Padres were to win a title. Because if you do that, that's different than Philadelphia winning a championship. That's a team that's won before, won in 2009, has been good, has a lot of money, is the big market team. But for Manny, people will remember and go down and be like, that was the first guy that signaled a change in San Diego for years to come, and hopefully decades to come. This might just be what the team is going to be about for a long time, right? They might just be like, you know what? We have crazy attendance now and everyone likes us and we're gaining rapid fans and there's no other pro team in San Diego. So like maybe this is just going to be the culture for a while and the Padres of old are gone. And that's something that just doesn't happen in baseball. Bryce Harper joined the Phillies. You didn't change them as a destination. They're always going to be a big market team. So that would be my argument for why he becomes more memorable if they are to win. Because overall, Bryce Harper has been better, I think, as a bat, and that's a sexier thing, right? He's got the walk-off shots. He's got the aura, the hair flip, and all that sort of stuff. While Manny Machado was plagued early on in his career by a bunch of behavioral things. He's a dirty player, the Johnny No Hustle thing, right? But forget that for a second. Another thing is Manny Machado in his career, not very good in the playoffs. We've actually talked about this a couple times on the show. It is the one piece of Manny Machado slander that actually is kind of fair. It really is. I know that like people don't want me to bring this up, but he really hasn't been that amazing in the playoffs in his career, if I'm not mistaken. I'm actually trying to look up like his career numbers. because he has not been the best sort of player in the postseason. He's basically only had like a couple playoff series that he's been good in his career, right? And I think that that's really just kind of unfortunate. I can't find the thing. Is it postseason that you go to game logs? I forgot what it is that helps you put together the postseason stats. But let me see. There we go. Thank you, Baseball Reference. He has a career 684 OPS in the postseason. That ain't good, guys, for Manny Machado. So it is worth bringing up. But if he were to go on a run, if this Padres team were to win and he's great in the playoffs and does something, then we can start talking about it. Overall popularity, he'll have it. But I will say, both of these guys might have the chance, and it's so sad. And I'm being so serious. Might have the chance to be more memorable than Mike Trout. On top of the fact that he's only been in the playoffs once, he's basically for the last 3 years, despite being 33, like his career's not over yet, he's been an injury-riddled mess in a lot of ways. Like, he can't stay healthy anymore. And it's really tough to see. So I actually think both Harper and Machado might end up being more memorable. Go check out the Chris Rose clip if you want a deeper dive into that. But it's really unfortunate. But yeah, that's my case for how it can happen. That Manny ends up being the one that we talk about a little bit more, not just among Padres fans, but baseball fans in general. And I think that Mike Trout, yes, he's been awesome, but now it's been a long time of him being an awesome player, just drowning in irrelevancy, that I'm wondering if people are just going to forget, right? The way that they might forget, say, I don't know. I can't think of like a really good player who people forget about right now. Prince Fielder? I don't know. No, everybody likes Prince. He was huge, and he's the big king. We loved him. I don't know. Can't think of one right now. But let me know what you guys think of that in the comments, or hit me up on Twitter, again, at the aforementioned handles. Last thing I want to mention is that the Padres are playing tonight against the Giants, with Nestor Cortez going up against Robbie Ray. Big test for the team. I think the way I view it is, with Michael King back, with Dylan Cease looking like he might be figuring things out, with Yu Darvish the same, and with Pivetta being a genuine like ace for this team, the back end of the rotation isn't a big deal in terms of playoffs. It is a big deal in terms of, do we just have some depth to potentially make it through the season, make it to the playoffs, which isn't a guarantee, although it is looking increasingly more and more likely. But rather, can they just have good depth to help them out through certain games? Can this be a good piece potentially for next year, right? Because we still don't know what the rotation is fully going to be next year. We have to see. Maybe a piece that could help them out a little bit there. Or actually, I think Nestor Cortez is a free agent, so I could be wrong. But lastly, Padres, one game back of the Dodgers, guys. That series this weekend against the Dodgers, Petco is going to be crazy. So hopefully they could get the win tonight. Hopefully the Dodgers keep losing, because, guys, the king has to be dethroned at some point of the NL West, right? At some point, it's got to happen. I'm not talking about playoffs. I'm talking about just winning the division. Maybe it could be this year. The Dodgers have been really shaky lately. Now you've got this weird Ohtani story that might be a distraction. I'm not getting into that. Go check out Locked On Dodgers for more. But yeah, that about does it for today's edition of the Locked On Padres podcast, guys. The only pod that may be better than the Padres themselves. Remember to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. And until next time, stay safe and, of course, stay faithful. My Friar Faithful homies, take care.